everybody, happy Wednesday. I'm coming on today because I'm going to be posing some questions that I am first directing toward Reborn Sculptors, and I have some questions that'll probably be at the end when I'm wrapping up that I will be directing to artists as well as collectors. I did make a video probably about a year and a half ago where I posed this first question I'm going to ask, and I never got any answers from sculptors. And I did speak with a sculptor, but that particular sculptor actually does not do this, so she did not know the answer. I have messaged some sculptors and never received answers. And I'm really trying to understand, first and foremost, the definition of limited edition in the Reborn world. For those of you who have not followed my channel, I used to collect porcelain dolls, and I understand it from that perspective. Once an edition is fulfilled, they break the molds, that's the end of it. And that was what I understood happened in the Reborn world as well. However, what perplexes my mind is when I see more than one kit using the same limbs. And that's where I get a little confused. And I would really love to understand how that works. So who you see in front of you right now are two of my personal collection babies. They are both Corolla Wegerich sculpts. This is the Fridolin sculpt, who is my Genevieve. She's all like chill there. And then this is my Vigenère, and she is the Wilma sculpt. I have another example of in kit form on the other side of Genevieve I will discuss in a moment. I am not going to be showing any other examples like on my computer or anything because it's really hard to find images of the blank kit. I really wish kit suppliers would always provide an image or several images, even close-ups of the blank kit like they do the prototype. I can only speak for myself. I, as an artist, need to see the blank kit. I get no inspiration from the prototype work. I know they create them so artists and collectors can see the kit painted in a variety of ways, but I really need to see the blank kit in order to be inspired and have my vision of the kit. And I have my own little quirks and nuances, things that I will not paint and things I will, but we're not here to discuss my style of painting at this point. I'm really looking for answers. I want to understand my industry fully, and this is what has perplexed me. So I will be calling Fridolin and Wilma right now by their kit name instead of Genevieve and Vigenère because I don't want to get all back and forth. So this Fridolin kit has been in my collection a little over 5 years, I believe. And yeah, it was 5 years in May, I think. And when the Wilma and Frida sculpts came out, I ordered 2 of each. And it was when I was painting the Wilma sculpt that I thought, wow, these limbs look awfully familiar. And if you look, it's going to be hard to do because I had my phone, not my phone, it's just a camera, on the tripod, and the angle is not the best for what I'm trying to do. But we can do, let me lay Wilma back, and you can see these babies have identical limbs. There's the Fridolin hand, and then here's the Wilma hand. And then here is the other hand of Fridolin and the other hand of Wilma. And same with the feet. And I do have their certificates here. You can see the curled toes on Wilma, the curled toes on Fridolin. I do have their COAs here. This is Fridolin's COA. You see Fridolin there. My kit is number 280 out of 500. And then Wilma, I have 205 out of 444. So my understanding would be that there are 444 Wilmas and 500 Fridolins. But where I get confused is there are, between these two kits, 944 sets of these limbs. That's where I get confused. And so I just don't understand. Do they have the company who pours their vinyl kits save the molds, and then they can bring them back? That's where, because I know there are some kits now that are starting second editions that originally nobody had an idea there was a second edition. So off the top of my head, I can't remember. I just recently saw that about a kit, and I'm like, wait a second, I didn't know there was going to be a second edition of that kit. Some sculptors do say that there's a first edition and then there's going to be a second edition. But I'm specifically speaking about kits that are called limited editions. And so in my mind, the limb set has a lot more than the edition number for each individual kit. And I used to believe that maybe it was because of the head, that the head set the edition. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a kit called Fritzy that has Fridolin's head, and she's standing. And I could be wrong. Maybe it's a different head. I don't have that image in front of me. But when I looked at her, I thought, that's Fridolin's head. So that's where, when I made the last video, that's why I made it, because I was really confused. Because now the one thing that I thought was allowing it to make sense in my head was now taken away. So that is my first example. Now I need to kind of move these babies over just a tad because this young lady is blocking. There we go. Okay, chill out there, ladies. Okay, so now here, and I'm just going to actually see if I can leave you on the tripod because I need to open COA envelopes here. So who we are looking at here are Asriel Awake here and Keiko, and these are Georgia Pagat sculpts. Forgive me if I didn't say any names correctly. Let me get their COAs out and then I can hold the camera a little better. Now how come that is not opening? It looks like Asriel's COA sealed itself. Well, that's not good. Good thing I have more of these envelopes. Give me just a second here because it totally sealed itself. Okay. So, Asriel Awake was actually the very first kit that I purchased. I ordered 3 of this kit before I even took my class, and many of you who follow me will guess why. Anyway, I fell in love with this face. The entire kit is amazing. And I ordered, like I said, I ordered 3. And I recall this was a kit that the pre-order ran for a specific amount of time, and that was what was going to set the edition. And I really thought it was going to be a high number. I was shocked when I got my babies to find out there were only 200. And I received number 2, 3, and 4. He is the last one I have. He's number 2. And I know people are probably like, I could make a fortune selling this kit, but I will paint him again. I do have a really long list for this kit. And then, a while later, when Keiko came out, again, super amazing face. And this is number 177 out of 450. And if you look, the limbs are identical. And I have Keiko set up out in a Moses basket near where I paint. And when I received this kit and started setting it up, I'm like, those limbs look awfully familiar. And I pulled out, at that time I had 2 Asriel kits in stock, and they are absolutely identical. The limbs, okay, no wait, I have to go back a second. There is one difference. The difference is Asriel Awake was made 3/4 arm, full leg, and gender specific. Then came Asriel Asleep. And the only differences in Asriel Asleep are that kit has full arms and has a non-gendered belly plate, which happens to be that belly plate. See, it stops there, no gender. Now, I don't have an issue per se when a sculptor is saying Asriel Awake, Asriel Asleep, because you kind of expect it's the same kit, except one has open eyes, one has closed eyes. However, my confusion again comes in at the edition number, because you are having your factory who pours them use the exact same mold. I mean, if you look at every crease is the same. And Asriel, so Keiko has the same limbs as Asriel Asleep, because you can see these are full limbs and these are 3/4. So, and the feet. Let me see if I can put the same legs side by side. I have talked with this, I mean, you can see there. I have talked with a couple other artists about this, and, you know, we're all kind of at a loss. We don't really understand, you know, how that works in terms of the kit edition. You can see their vinyl is a tad of a different color, not a whole lot. Maybe it's my lighting in here. This one looks a tad darker to me, but again, it could be my lighting. But the point is, the mold is the same. And again, so to me, there's 200 of this and 450 of this. I don't know how many are in the Asriel Asleep edition, but to add all those three up. And even if you look at the lines in the belly button, to me, all that was done was the gender portion was cut off. Like right here, it was cut. Because everything else is the same. She also has a couple kits coming out right now that I was so, and I still am excited. I just have to decide, because she has a boy and a girl coming out and they have the same limbs. And so for me, when I purchased 3 Asriel Awake kits, my brain, you know, it was with the knowledge that I would be painting the entire same kit 3 times. But like when I purchased, I had purchased 2 of her, and I ended up selling the other kit because I'm like, do I want to paint these limbs again on a, you know what I'm saying? If I'm consciously aware of it, I then need to decide. And especially when it's in the case of like her upcoming kits where it's a girl and a boy, to me, it is a moment frozen in time. And do I want the same limbs in my collection or on my painting table on different babies? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh wait, these limbs belong to that baby. Now they belong, you know, I don't know. I hope I'm making sense. Some of the other ones that I'm aware of that have duplicate limbs are, and I will tell you, this was kind of hard for me, this one, because I really fell in love with the Tootie kit, and I do have her in stock. And I then saw, I just lost his name. What's his name? Oh, darn it. Tootie and... oh, I hope it comes back to me. But in the meantime, I'll talk about some other ones. I know these I've never painted. They're just, because I do zoom in really close on limbs. Oh, Yannick. I believe that's how you say it. He's really cute, got a cute open mouth, but he had Tootie's limbs. And I'm like, okay, I already have Tootie. I just, because it's girl, boy, I just couldn't do it. And yes, I can pay and get other limbs and swap them out and make a hybrid, but that just gets really costly. And these I've not had in stock. These are just kits I've seen. Nikki Johnston's Trouble and Kiara have the same limbs. And I did purchase the Carola Wegerich Louise kit. And then a short time later, she came out with Elise. And Elise has Louise's limbs. And I'm sure there are more out there. I'm just naming a few right now. And what I would like to know from sculptors is, how does that factor into the word limited edition? Does that not count when you're reusing limbs? And is there a reason you're reusing limbs? As I can speak for myself, as an artist, I would prefer different limbs on each baby. And I realize that means more sculpting and more time involved. And I'm not a sculptor. I'm sure it involves a lot. I do, as I said, follow sculptors as they're sharing their works in progress of their sculpts. And I can see it's a lot of work and how they sometimes start over and roll the clay back up and etc. So I know it's a very labor intensive thing to do. I don't want to discount that or discredit it. But I will say for me, it deters me sometimes, as I just mentioned, from purchasing kits. I would have bought Yannick if he had different limbs. I would have bought Elise if she had different limbs. And so, because I loved the faces on those babies. So that is my question to other artists. Are you detoured when you see a kit has the same limbs as another kit? Is that a factor for you at all? And collectors, if you are somebody who collects, multiple dolls by the same sculptor, if you see they have reused limbs, is that a deterrent for you? Is that a reason why you'd be like, oh, I really liked that baby, but I already have a baby with that limbs? Does that keep you from purchasing that kit, or do people not care? I'm really, really curious if it's something people note as collectors and other artists, or if I'm just hyper picky. Maybe I am. Maybe it's just, something that it's my issue and I need to get over it. But I really would like to understand how these are limited to 200 and 450 and what was she, 300, 250? No, 500 and 444 when their limbs are replicated. That's really what I want to know. I want to understand limited edition. I have a basic understanding of different versions of limited edition. Sometimes the sculptor sets the edition. Sometimes the pre-order sets the edition. I get all that. What I don't understand is how that is considered quote-unquote limited when limbs are reused on other kits. That's the big question I would love answered. And again, to other artists and sculptors, does it deter you from painting kits if you see it has the same limbs on another kit that you've already painted? And if there's two that come out kind of at the same time, do you feel like you need to choose between the two, or are you open to painting them? And I realize many of our babies go to different people, but in terms of inspiration for painting, do you find it hard to paint the same limbs with a different face? And then collectors, is it something you factor in your decision to adopt babies? If the baby, let's say you have Asriel awake and you love Keiko, but they have the same limbs. Like, would you feel you could lay them side by side? Now, I personally in my collection have double of Heavenly, but I purposely bought that kit twice. That was a conscious decision I made. They are the same kits, so they have the same limbs. But I'm talking about different heads on same limbed bodies. Anyway, I hope that made sense. So please feel free to dialogue down below in the comments and be kind. And I'm not trying to pinpoint any particular sculptor or make this a negative thing. I truly just want answers. I want to understand how an edition is set when limbs are reused on other kits. Please, I hope that made sense. All right, everybody, have a blessed day today. Thank you so very much for stopping by. And remember every day to find at least one thing to be joyful about. I'm staying over here today, so I'll point up to Kymberlee's Cocoon instead of the Joy Bubble. But y'all know about the Joy Bubble. Anyway, everybody, be blessed. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.